mutually beneficial interstate relations, free from diktats, free from external interference. Specifically, in December, the group of Friends in Defense of the UN Charter submitted a resolution that was adopted by the General Assembly, a resolution proclaiming the 14th of December the International Day Against Colonialism. As the situation we're discussing today shows, Africa still needs such active international efforts aimed at anti-colonialism. We call on all sensible states interested in helping to build a genuinely independent and successful African development models to join us. In the anti-colonial context, in relation to the situation in Somalia, it's also important to repeat our principled position. Voluntary financial assistance to Somalians is provided free of charge. It cannot be preconditioned on the fulfilling of political requirements. By way of conclusion, we'd like to express our solidarity with the government of the Federal Republic of Somalia and the Somalian people during this difficult period. Russia will continue supporting Mogadishu in combating both international terrorism as well as efforts to exert unilateral political and economic pressure. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Russian Federation for the statement, and I give the floor to the representative of France.
Mr. President, I'd like to begin by thanking the Assistant Secretary General, Mr. Khaled Kiari, for that briefing. France recalls its commitment to the unity, territorial integrity, and the sovereignty of Somalia, in accordance with the United Nations Charter. France welcomes the recent renewals of the sanctions regime targeting the terrorist group Al-Shabaab and the mandates of the African Union Support and Stabilization Mission, as well as the UN Support Office in Somalia. This represents decisive support provided by this Council to Somalia in its quest for security and stability. It's essential to avoid any action liable of compromising peace and security in Somalia, as well as in the Horn of Africa and the Gulf of Aden. Internal disputes within Somalia must be resolved in a negotiated manner in the context of a dialogue between all Somali stakeholders. Easing of political tensions within the country is crucial to effectively counter terrorism and to enable the smooth conduct of future elections. Mr. President, I wish to recall in conclusion that, faithful to the spirit of the New York Declaration adopted by the General Assembly on the 12th of September this year, France will continue to stand opposed to any forced displacement of the civilian population and to any violation of international law and international humanitarian law in particular. Thank you.
I thank the representative of France for the statement. I shall now make a statement in my capacity as the representative of Slovenia. I would like to thank Assistant Secretary General Chiari for his briefing. For 2 years at this table, we have been unambiguous in opposing two threats to international order and global security: the erosion of multilateralism and the disregard for international law. Colleagues, foreign interference does not arrive only with tanks and missiles. It also takes quieter but no less damaging forms: political pressure and actions that undermine sovereignty, territorial integrity, and political independence. These principles are not abstract. They are being tested today. It is in this context that we express our deep concern regarding the action taken against Somalia last week. It risks further destabilizing a region already burdened by multiple political and security crises. Slovenia reiterates its support for the unity, sovereignty, and territorial integrity of the Federal Republic of Somalia. Only Somalis themselves can determine the future of their country, free from unwarranted external interference. It is up to Somalis of Somalia and of Somaliland to agree in dialogue on a system of governance that protects the interests of all parts of Somalia. Efforts of the international community should be directed towards supporting meaningful dialogue between Somalia and Somaliland. We encourage the United Nations, the African Union, and regional organizations to offer their support in this regard, should Somalis desire it. Colleagues, the current situation must not distract from Somalia's urgent security priorities, including the fight against terrorism. the international community should work together with Somalia, supporting its efforts through cooperation and sustained engagement. Colleagues, I have to address the issue of Palestine and comparison as raised by the United States. Slovenia recognized Palestine as independent state. We did so in response to the undeniable right of the Palestinian people to self-determination. Palestine is not part of any state. It is illegally occupied territory, as declared by the International Court of Justice, among others. Palestine is also an observer state in this organization. Somaliland, on the other hand, is a part of a UN member state, and recognizing it goes against the Article 2, Para 4 of the UN Charter. Colleagues, throughout our tenure, we have consistently called for peace, not as an empty slogan, but as a responsibility. And we have worked to cultivate that notion through leadership for peace debates. To lead for peace is to place the pursuit of sustainable peace above narrow national interest, to choose cooperation over convenience. It is to recognize that sustainable peace is achieved not outside of, but through the United Nations itself. The United Nations is only as strong as the commitment of its member states. And for this reason, what the organization needs today is a mobilization of all of us, of its member states, for an alliance for peace. I resume my function as President of the Council. I now give the floor to the representative of Israel.
For his briefing here this afternoon. I wish to make it clear, Israel's engagement with Somaliland has a long and consistent record. In 1960, when Somaliland emerged as an independent state, Israel was among 35 countries that formally recognized its independence. In the late 1980s, under the regime of Siad Barre, Somaliland's civilian population was subjected to mass atrocities. Entire cities were destroyed, civilians were deliberately targeted. These crimes are now widely recognized as the Isaac genocide. At the time, Israel was the only country to formally raise these atrocities in this very council. On May 2nd, 1990, Israel's then acting permanent representative, Yochanan Bain, submitted this letter to this very council, warning of grave human rights violations in Somalia, including the destruction of Hargeisa and the targeting of civilians. This document forms part of the official record of the Security Council. That record underscores the consistency of Israel's engagement, grounded in concern for human rights, accountability, and legal principles. That history provides essential context for the discussion surrounding Israel's recognition of Somaliland today. Let me be clear, Israel's recognition of Somaliland is neither provocative nor novel. It is a lawful, principled acknowledgement of a long-established reality, consistent with international law and aligned with the values that this Council is meant to uphold. Mr. President, Somaliland's modern political history is clear and well documented. On June 26, 1960, the former British Somaliland Protectorate attained independence as the State of Somaliland. In the days that followed, prior to its voluntary union with the Trust Territory of Somalia on July 1, 1960, Somaliland was recognized by 35 states, including the United States, the United Kingdom, France, China, Egypt, Ethiopia, the Soviet Union, and Israel. Somaliland entered that union as a recognized sovereign entity, exercising its right to self-determination. That union failed to produce a durable or fully ratified constitutional settlement. Political marginalization, repression, and mass violence followed. When the Somali central government collapsed, Somaliland reasserted its sovereignty in May 1991. For more than 3 decades since, it has existed entirely outside the authority of Mogadishu. Since 1991, Somaliland has consistently met the objective criteria for statehood under customary international law, as reflected in the Montevideo Convention. 1, it has a permanent population. 2, a defined territory. 3, an effective government. 4, the capacity to conduct foreign relations. In fact, Somaliland has held regular competitive elections, ensured peaceful transfers of power, and maintained effective governance and security throughout its territory. In a region marked by instability, Somaliland has demonstrated continuity, responsibility, and restraint. Moreover, Somaliland's engagement with the international community is already sustained and practical. Several states maintain representative, liaison, or economic offices in Hargeisa. These relationships reflect ongoing diplomatic, economic, and development cooperation. They also reflect an acknowledgement in practice of Somaliland's capacity to govern responsibly. Israel's recognition builds on this reality. This step was taken as an exercise of sovereign authority, consistent with international law and long-standing diplomatic practice. It is not a hostile step towards Somalia, nor does it preclude future dialogue between the parties. Recognition is not an act of defiance. It is an opportunity to promote clarity, an opportunity to encourage responsibility, an opportunity to strengthen stability in the Horn of Africa. This recognition is forward-looking. It aligns with the spirit of the Abraham Accords: cooperation over isolation, pragmatism over paralysis, and partnership over perpetual conflict. Somaliland has demonstrated a willingness to govern responsibly, to secure itself, and to engage constructively with regional and international partners. This trajectory is also not without precedent. In the case of South Sudan, early engagement by individual states, including Israel, preceded broader international recognition and supported international integration and stability. Reality was acknowledged first. Consensus followed. Mr. President, the question raised by Israel's recognition of Somaliland is not whether international law permits acknowledgement of long-established facts. It does. The question is whether this Council is ready to engage with reality as it exists. Somaliland's historical sovereignty, more than 3 decades of effective self-governance, and demonstrated capacity to act as a responsible international partner meet the legal criteria that guide recognition.